So now let's talk about how we can add or put slash subtract polynomials. And an example of doing this will be something kind of like, if I have a parentheses right here, we'll have something like 5x maybe plus 2x squared and plus 1. And we know this is a trinomial because we got three separate parts of this polynomial. The first part will be the 5x, the next part will be the 2x squared, and then the last part will be just a 1. And it's separated by an addition sign. I got addition sign here and an addition sign here. And now this could be a subtraction sign. If it was subtraction, this would be 5x minus 2x squared, and the minus 2x squared would be part of this 2. So, for example, let's say I had a minus right here, and I was talking about this polynomial. This would be a positive 5x. This over here would be a minus 2x squared. So, for example, if I said I want to pull out the coefficient of this part, I'll pull out that negative with this 2. So the coefficient of this part would be minus 2. Just like the coefficient for this 5x, the coefficient would be just 5. But let's get back into talking about subtracting and adding these polynomials. So let's say I want to add this polynomial to something else, and let's say that's going to be 3x plus x squared plus 4. Now, just like this polynomial, how it has three separate parts, this polynomial over here also has three separate parts. I got an addition on this side, an addition on this side, and I got addition over here, and addition over here. So if we want to add these together, here's how we would do it. We would first just start with this this 5 right here, and it has a just a regular x. So I'm going to look, do I have any other like terms where I have a number and then just an x? And I do. I got this right here. So I can combine this term with this term over here. And so what I'm essentially going to do is take this 5x and then I'll add it. Remember, this tells me what operation to do. This addition. So I'm taking basically this polynomial, this part of the polynomial, the monomial, that's part of the polynomial, this plus this. So if I have 5x plus 3x, I'll have 8x right here. So I'll put that number down first, and now I'll move on to the next one. So I got right here a positive 2x squared. Now this is a positive 2x squared, so this positive right here is going to go with this entire thing. So this and this over here I can combine. So what I do is, remember, there's a 1 in front of this this x squared. The coefficient is a 1. So I have a positive 2x squared plus an x squared. So that's going to be plus 3x squared. Now the last part is just going to be combining the number. So I don't have an x over here, and so what can I combine this with? Well, this is just a 1 plus a 4, a positive 4. So one way that you can think about doing this, if you have a different problem, is you can do something kind of like, if I have this 1 right here, I can put a 1 down, and it's a positive 1, and then this plus would come here, and then this plus would come here, and this is a positive 4. That's why that's going to be like that. So positive 1 plus positive 4, it's going to be obviously a positive 5. So what I would do is I would just put plus right here, and this would be a 5. So this right here would be the answer for adding these two polynomials together. So let's move on to multiplying polynomials. We have multiplying and then polynomials. And so it's going to work sort of the same way as adding them, but it's kind of more like the distributive property that we already went over. So, for example, let's say I got something like negative 3x squared, and this is a monomial, and I want to multiply it by a trinomial. So let's say I got something like 7x squared minus x plus 4. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this minus 3x squared, and remember this minus goes with this, just like these additions right here go with all this. So I'll take this and I'll go to this, and then I'll go to this, and then I'll go over here to this. Now to do that, I'm just going to multiply the numbers first. So I got negative 3 times a 7. That's just like the distributive property, just if we took away these variables right in here. So negative 3 times 7 is going to be a negative 21. Now to worry about the x. Well, I got an x squared here times an x squared over here. So just as a side note for a second, I'll erase this in a second, but let's say that we have over here, I've got 5 times 5. What is that going to be? 5 times 5 is just going to be 25. Now let's replace this 5 with an x. Let's say I have x times x, and that equals 25. What is x? So basically, just from looking up here, I know that x has got to be 5, because 5 times 5 equals 25. So the way I got this, I didn't add these up, I multiplied them. So when you multiply something like this, you're not going to get 2x, because we know, just from looking at this, we know that x equals 5. That's just a given from looking at this. So I didn't do 2x equals 25. I didn't do that, because that would be something completely different. We have to divide by 2 on each side, and that wouldn't give us what I'm really looking for. So what I did was, I did x squared equals 25, and that gave me a 5 answer, which is what I'm looking for. So when you have one variable times another variable, like this, one variable times this variable, that's going to be that variable squared. So basically there's a 1 up here and there's a 1 right here. So I did 1 plus 1 to get 2. So what we're going to do whenever we want to multiply variables is we'll just add the exponents. So if we add the exponents in this example where we're multiplying polynomials, what I'm going to do is I'm going to x squared times this x squared, and I'll add these up. So I'll have 21x to the 4th. So I have this right here, and then we're going to do this times this over here. A negative 3 times a negative, remember this is a 1 right here. You may not recognize that. There's a 1 in front of this. So we'll have negative 3 times negative 1. Negative and negative will make a positive. When you multiply numbers, negative and negative are positive. That's not the case for addition or subtraction or anything like that. Multiplying this times this will be a positive. We have 3x, and we'll add these exponents up. 2 and a 1. So that'll be 3 up top here. I'm going to make that look a little bit better. I got a 3x cubed right there. So the last one is going to be a negative 3 times a positive 4. A negative times a positive is going to be a negative. And we have 3 times 4, so we'll have a 12. And then this x squared, there's nothing over here, so this will just be 12x squared, just like that. Now, I said a second ago that this is a little bit like the distributive property. So if you know how to do the distributive property, this will make a lot of sense over here. So just to recap, this is something that that you should already know. This is the new material. So let's go back for the old material for a second. We have the distributive property. Distributive, and I'll put for property. So if we have something kind of like 3 times 7 minus 1. And I want to do this. What I would do is I would do the same thing that I did over here. This 3 would go to this 7 and also go to this negative 1. We got this 3 here, goes to this 7, this negative 1. So what I'll do is 3 times 7 will be 21, and then I got a positive 3, a negative 1, so I'll have a minus 3. Now when you do that, you'll just get 18. Now you could be thinking, wait, why don't we just do the order of operations, do the parentheses first? And the answer is that you could do that. You could just do 7 minus 1, get 6, and do times 3. But I need you to understand that we're able to get 18 by using the disturbed property, doing it this way, because they could give you something where you have like x in here. They could give you something where you have something like 3 times 7 minus x, and then your subtraction order of operations won't work over here because we don't know what x is. But it works the same way. We'll take this 3, multiply it by this, and then we'll take this, multiply it over here. Now to do that, we'll have a 1 right in here, just like we had over here, and we'll just do 3 times 7, and we'll get, this will equal 21, and then we have a positive 3 times a negative 1, so we'll get minus 3, and then we have this x over here hanging out, so we'll have 21 minus 3x for this.